guys, I've hiked for about 2.5, almost 3 hours, and I've been in deer sign the whole time. I mean, the whole mountainside just smells like deer pee. And I've seen probably 40, maybe 50 deer. I haven't seen any bucks, at least not any bucks that are packing. But I just found my first brown of 2019, my first brownie of the year. It's a little 2-point, it's small, but I'm okay with that. I'm gonna flip the camera around and let you guys take a look at it. So there it is, guys, at the base of that rock. A little 2-point. That's my first brown shed of this year, and it's my first shed this year in Cache County. So if you watch my last video, I set a goal to find a shed in every county in Utah over the next 2 years. There's 29 counties, and I found a shed in Iron County this year. Now I just found a shed in Cache County. So again, it's just a little guy, but it's a brown. First one of the year for me. Super excited. And I'm gonna keep walking this game trail I'm on, see if maybe I can find the other side. Well, look at that view, guys. Beautiful day to be out. The sun's not out, it's overcast, but the wind's died down. Temperatures are in the high 20s, maybe 30. And I haven't seen another single person. I see one other vehicle parked about half a mile up the highway from where I'm parked. You can see the truck. Where is the truck? Right down there in the bottom. Well, I just came up for a hike. This isn't really a good area to shed hunt. I always look for sheds when I'm hiking, but that's not really the point today. I just needed to get out. My mom passed away last week. For those of you that know me and know my mom, she was unique. She was one of a kind. Hopefully we all feel that way about our moms. So we had the funeral services Saturday, and we've had family in town. Our family has just been amazing. They've been so awesome. But I haven't really had a chance just to kind of get alone and just reflect and just pray about it. And so that's what I'm doing today. But man, it's such a pretty view up here. So the minute on the mountain for today is the passage that I used for part of my mom's funeral service. And it's in 1 Kings chapter 18. And it's a story about Elijah and the prophets of Baal. And so if you're not familiar with that story, Elijah was a prophet of God. And he was serving at a time when the king of Israel was not following God, King Ahab. In fact, Ahab had 450 prophets of Baal that were serving him in the royal court. And so Elijah tells Ahab to bring all the prophets of Baal up to Mount Carmel, and there's going to be a showdown to decide, who's the real God. So he tells the prophets of Baal to take a bull and cut it up and put it on an altar, and then pray to Baal to bring fire down from heaven. And then Elijah says, I'll do the same thing, and whoever's God sends the fire down, that's the real God. So Elijah lets the prophets of Baal go first, and they start praying to Baal. They start dancing around the altar. They start cutting themselves. He lets this go until about noon. Of course, nothing happens. No fire comes down. And then Elijah starts to taunt him. He starts to trash talk, and he says, well, shout louder. Surely your God is powerful. Maybe he's just asleep, or maybe he's traveling. Maybe he's in deep thought. Maybe he's using the bathroom. And so they shout louder, and of course nothing happens. And Elijah, just to make sure he proves his point, before he calls down for fire, he has them take 4 huge jars of water and pour it on the altar. He does that 3 times. So much water that the trench around the altar fills up. And he calls on the Lord, and when he calls on the Lord, he prays for God to bring the fire down, but he says, I want these people to know that you have asked me to do all these things, God, and that you have done this to draw the hearts of the people back to you. And of course, fire comes down and consumes it, and there's no doubt who the real God is. I've read that story dozens of times. It's one of my favorite stories in the Old Testament. But what really struck me about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, is that line where Elijah says, I want the people to know that you've told me to do this and that you've done all this to draw the hearts of your people back to you. And so God didn't orchestrate all that just to show he is powerful, although he is powerful. He didn't orchestrate it just to show that he's the only real God, although he's the only real God. But he orchestrated it to draw the hearts of his people back to him. And I fully believe that God is always pursuing us. He's always seeking to draw us back. And I shared at the funeral that I think God is going to use the events of my mom's accident and her death to draw people to himself. And we've already seen that happen. I've already seen people who are at the funeral service who haven't been to church in a long time or who've never really had a relationship with God that are interested in pursuing him because he's using this event to pursue them. So if you're out there today and you've never begun a relationship with God through Jesus Christ, I want you to know that he loves you. I want you to know that he's pursuing you. Maybe you got on this video today and you're only expecting to see sheds or the outdoors, and all of a sudden you've got this crazy guy on the mountain giving you a mini sermon. But that's because God's using this to pursue you and using this to draw you to himself. So if you have any questions about what your next step is, I'd love to talk with you about that. Feel free to put a comment down below. I'm going to get ready to start hiking out. It's getting dark. Again, I'm not really shed hunting, so I doubt I'll find anything on the way down. But if I do, we'll video it. I've seen a lot of deer today. It's been fun. I've seen probably 30, 35 head of deer. I'm going to combine this video with a previous one, a quick trip I did where I found my first brown shed of the year. So at least there's one shed on here for you guys. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for you guys who've subscribed. Thanks for the comments, the encouragement you guys give. And I hope you've been encouraged by some of the videos as well. And have a good afternoon.